Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Grow Up, Level Up Gamers Club, where today we're going to be talking about what we've been playing. It rhymes with Spokemon. And also, Jordan's got a really cool Mount Rushmore kind of game for me. I don't know. I'm going to be just as surprised as you are. This is Grow Up, Level Up Gamers Club. Awesome. Welcome back to Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, the weekly podcast where Jordan and I chat about the games that we've been playing in our 5 to 9 after our 9 to 5. We like to give our reviews, previews, impressions, and everything in between on the games that you should be fitting into your precious hours of gaming. My name is Samson, also known as Samson XP on all the socials and on the interwebs. And my co-host, as I said a couple times already, is the illustrious Sir Dr. JM, a.k.a. Jordan. How's it going?
It's going about as good as it could be. We are hot off the heels of some large political news from our neighbors in the South. So yeah, I'll say it's going as good as it could be right now.
We are. The day we're recording this is the day after the American election. We don't want to get too political on this podcast. Of course, we are kind of a gaming-focused podcast, but we can't ignore the elephant in the room. And we just want to say to our American friends, like, hey, we're here for you. We're a good escape. Like Jordan said, we are based in Canada, so even though it's not our election, it really does affect our politics and relationships and like. Canadian politics used to be boring, I think they used to say, and that's why everyone watched the American ones, but I don't know about now. So we're watching closely. Yeah. But today we're not here to talk about politics. I'm sure you are tired of that, of course. We are going to talk about a game that we've been playing, and it is...
The other P word. Pokemon.
That's good.
Pokemon TCGP.
Yes. So we'll start off with a little bit of what we've been playing this week, and then we'll go into, I don't know what to call your segment, Jordan. As we went live, I was like, oh, we never actually figured out a name for this.
I got a whole pitch for it, so we'll dive in when we're ready.
Okay. Well, and then we have Jordan's surprise.
That's right.
After what we've been playing, but we've been playing a little game called Pokemon TCG Pocket. I don't know if you guys heard of Pokemon, this franchise that's been around for almost 30 years. Yeah, something about collecting cool, cute, interesting creatures and having them battle. But basically, this game called Pokemon TCG Pocket came out on October 30th, 2024. And it's kind of taken over my friend circle, kind of a couple podcast feeds I listen to, and Jordan, you as well, right?
That's right. Yes, it is.
Yeah. In like a minute, can you summarize what this game is?
Oh, sure. Pokemon TCG Pocket is basically the pocket version of the classic Pokemon collectible cards. The main goal is to collect the cards, and of course it also has a battling component, which sort of simulates the actual card game that comes from the original Pokemon cards. Of course, a little bit different just because it is an app rather than physical cards. But yeah, I think the Pokemon Company or whomever is in charge of this thing really has a hit on their hands, at least for now.
I think the development group is DNA, like DENA, and they've worked with Nintendo in the past. I think they're still working on Pokemon Masters, which is another gacha game from Pokemon, as well as another Nintendo property called Dragalia Lost, which I think was more of a traditional one-handed. It was a pretty cool game. It was a little ahead of its time. It was like a gacha one-handed fight the dungeon kind of game from Nintendo. Cool. So it's developed by them, but yes, it is very much a gacha game where instead of, I don't know, in other gacha games you like do wishes or tickets to a train, this one you're legitimately just opening up booster
Pokemon
packs.
Cards.
Yeah, and getting Pokemon cards. And the way it works, I think the biggest mechanic, in my opinion, is like you get to open 2 a day.
Yeah.
And the 2 a day is on a 12-hour timer. So
literally 2 a day, as close to, a day as possible if you do it right when you can get it. So
Yeah. And the goal is to collect as many as you can, fill out your collection, but also there's a battling component to it as well. You can play against other people. You can play against the computer. Those are pretty challenging in itself. Plus, also show off like your cards to your friends, and there's a social part as well.
Yeah.
So, do you want to start with your thoughts, Jordan, or should I share my thoughts too on our experience so far?
Yeah, I can go first. You probably have more thoughts. I know you're, a higher level than me in the game, and maybe probably a little more into it than I am. We all know you're a big fan of the digital card games.
That is true.
But I really kind of had little interest in it, and then it just started popping up everywhere on all my social feeds. People sharing their friend codes and posting these pictures of these cool Charizard EX cards and all sorts of stuff like that. And I was kind of like, I think it was a few days after it came out, maybe 5 days or so, and I was kind of like, I'm gonna check this out now. So I downloaded it, and sure enough, I mean, I think the big strength they really have going on here is targeting sort of our age demographic that grew up with the original Pokemon cards, right? Like, Pokemon was a phenomenon when I was a young kid on the schoolyard, and all the parents would talk about, like, have you heard about this Pokemon thing, this Pokemon thing? And they didn't get it, and we were going out to collect these cards, and it was just, I remember all the parents being just so confused. Shout out to the one card shop in Deerfoot Mall in Calgary that every kid knew as the Pokemon card store, because it was the only place that we knew that sold them. It's no longer around, but anyways, just very fond memories of being on the schoolyard, having your deck in your hands, and every kid has that reflex for shifting through cards that we can all do, but none of our parents could because they didn't grow up with this kind of thing. But anyways, yeah, so I've had a great time really just opening the packs. I kind of put off the battling for a while and was like, I'm just going to treat this like just a collector game, right? I'm just going to collect the cards. But then, of course, you earn currency to lower the cooldown to open a new pack by doing the battles. So now I'm fully in, and I've one of the big strengths that I think they have going for them right now is they are giving everyone sort of a free 2-week trial of the premium pass. So of course it has battle pass, but that really kind of gives you a boost just to get a head start, and you can kind of really get in there. So I think they've got a lot of good things going. They do a really good job of onboarding you into the game. It's definitely very tutorialized in the beginning, but I think that they kind of have to be, because there is, those sort of two sides to it of collecting, but then also battling. So at the same time, you really can do just the collecting if that's all you really want to do. So anyways, I've pulled up a new card that I just got recently.
Oh, it's a nice one.
Nice Giovanni here, which I didn't know there were special support trainer cards as well. I thought it was just the Pokemon that had the special cards. So I was pretty jacked when I opened that one just a little while ago. But
there you go. That's part of the fun, like being surprised. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know this card had a cool art or whatever, or I love this Pokemon. I can't believe this guy got a full art. Yeah,
that's right.
And just for everyone out there, like the premium pass to get you hooked a little more. It's also an extra pack every day, so you get, instead of 2, you get 3. You get 3 packs. For me, Pokemon TCG Pocket. I've talked about it in the past. I feel like the past 1 or 2 episodes where I brought it up.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Marvel Snap. Still am, honestly. I'll come back to that later. But I really like these simple, fast card games that also involve an IP I really care about, or like something that like means something to me. Is not exactly what the phrase I'm looking for, but like something I'm familiar with. And more, I don't know, spiritually, like at a macro level, I really like IPs that you can share with other people. Like Pokemon is probably the easiest one, because like everybody knows what a Pokemon is, but there are folks who don't play it all the time, or folks that that maybe have fallen off or haven't heard of it. But if you show them a Pokemon, they'll know, like, oh, this is from that franchise, and hey, I kind of like this guy. Anyways,
everyone knows Pikachu.
Yeah, everyone at least knows Pikachu. So So I was excited to check out TCG Pocket, so much so that I flew to New Zealand and downloaded the game on my phone and then flew back.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a little bit of a head start from everyone else, but not that much, because what happened like a week before the global launch, they geo-locked everyone out again.
Oh, yeah.
And I could have got a VPN and done that, but like it didn't have its hooks in me yet. I liked opening the booster packs, but that was about it, right?
I did the same thing when Pokemon Go came out. I went on a trip to New Zealand and had it like 2 weeks before anyone else. So,
interesting. Yeah. That was nice. New Zealand, very nice country. I must
beautiful,
say.
beautiful.
Yeah. Looks like Lord of the Rings.
Quick flight.
Yeah. So I didn't play it that much leading up to the global release. Then the global release came out, and I evangelized for it. Of course, I'm like, hey, like Pokemon's Marvel Snap came out. Let's all check it out. So one by one, like my entire friend group got into it. We all traded friend codes on day one, and then we just started opening packs, sharing like the cool cards we pulled, those playground rumors where it's like, oh, the bent pack, like
the
you hear about the bent pack
or
the crinkled pack thing,
the reverse ones.
Yeah, and then it comes out later. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like your pack is rolled when you hit open pack. It is like this is the playground stuff that like I'm nostalgic for. Not nostalgic for, but like I remember. And like opening the packs is fun, of course, and like the social part is fun, of course.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that hooks it into me the most is actually the battling. Like, even though there's no ranked mode yet, I have enjoyed building decks, testing stuff out, finding what's meta, playing against that. That being said, I haven't actually played the versus mode against real people yet. I've just been grinding the solo challenges and trying to beat the computer. Partly because you get resources from it, but also because like it's a decent challenge. And I feel like these gacha games or these free to play games, they just want to do just enough to get you hooked, and then they want to make you feel really good. So they make it really easy. But for this game, it's been a week and I still haven't cleared everything from to the expert mode yet. But I'm looking forward to grinding and like experimenting and doing that grind, because it just feels good to play. Doesn't feel as good as Marvel Snap, I would say, but it's 90% there. So
yeah. So I definitely echo that. I think they really nailed the card sort of aspect of it, playing on the fact that obviously these cards are real physical cards in real life as well. I think for every card, I'm sure you can get the physical version of that card as well, or for the most part at least.
Yeah.
But that is definitely one of the sort of major differences that I've found between this one and Marvel Snap, is that Marvel Snap really kind of went all in on, like, when you play a card and it attacks another, there's a unique effect and, graphic that kind of plays if it's Wolverine attacking, if it's Spider-Man attacking. The card flips over and goes thwip and the little web shoots out if it's Spider-Man and stuff like that. And Marvel Snap definitely leaned more into, I think, emphasizing that sort of side of the production. Whereas I think because TCGP is relying more on the real life cards, I think they kind of went a little lighter on that. And so when you're battling, it isn't as flashy and as exciting as a Marvel Snap for sure. One thing I did find was I think I kind of took to the battling a little bit quicker because of my, I did play Marvel Snap for quite a while as well. So I think it kind of eased me in with these two being probably the only real card battler games that I've ever really played. So,
yeah. And to that point, it's the battling animations definitely lean more like the game where it's like a surf looks the same, a tackle looks the same, and you're just watching the little characters do their little wiggle into them. Yeah, because there's just so many, right? It's hard to do like all 1,000. And actually, going back to your point about the packs, like this one, TCG Pocket, I think is going to move in its own rotation, because there's actually you can play the real TCG game, the real Pokemon TCG, TCG Live, and you can play it on your phone as well, which is interesting because it's like, oh, are you guys cannibalizing each other? But at the same time, I feel like it's different enough that they're going to attract different audiences and people will double dip as well. Right. So, and it's interesting because that TCG Live will follow the IRL rotation. And I think a new set is even coming out this Friday. So like TCG Live is
wow.
about to get a bunch of new cards.
Okay.
Whereas TCG Pocket is going to be on its own schedule and rotation and have its own events. So it is going to attract a different audience, I feel. But at the same time, like, yeah, lots of people will double dip. Like myself, I'll probably play both at some point. It is also funny because I've had a few friends who already said like, oh, this TCG Pocket's already dry. And this was like on Monday. So the game's been out for 5 days or something.
I have heard that as well. And I even messaged you today because like I have friends who have been playing for far less time than me in terms of days. And they have blown past me in their level. And I'm like, how did you do that? But yeah, I definitely have heard that from people who are quite a bit more hardcore with their time with it than I am.
Yeah, and I think the levels also just similar to Marvel Snap, a representation of how much time you spent on it, but also how much money you spent on it, because you gain experience for, I think, the amount of cards you collect. Every time you hit a milestone, it will obviously level you up or give you experience to level up. But yeah, you could spend money to reduce your timer to open packs, which is, I guess, in the end, the same as spending money on a booster pack. But the funny thing is, this is all a digital card game, and a booster pack, you might score a card that's worth money that you could trade back, but
yeah,
that's a different conversation, and like maybe people don't care about that anyways.
Yeah.
So, I think, Jordan, would you recommend this game to the average gamer who just wants something to play in their spare time? Is this game worth your 5 to 9?
I mean, the funny thing is, I originally, like I said, I was going to just collect, then I dipped into the battling, and it's kind of got me a little bit hooked and stuff like that. If you asked me when I had first kind of started this game, I would have said, like, if you have that nostalgia for Pokemon cards, then sure, maybe. But even then, I would have leaned towards the not really. But then I started finding myself getting real excited when I pulled a Gengar EX or something like that. And I was shocked at the genuine excitement. And like, I'm sitting there at my desk in the middle of the day opening a card, and I got an Articuno EX earlier today, and I literally fist pumped in the air and went, yes, because I was that excited about it.
Yeah.
And it's that excitement that, again, I would say, if you don't like Pokemon or Pokemon cards, then no, don't touch this game. And I would assume most people who don't like Pokemon aren't, right? But if you have that nostalgia, and if you remember collecting cards, it's going to hit you. I almost, I guarantee it. When you open a pack and you get, that first kind of shiny, I think like everyone gets a Bulbasaur shiny real quick. From what I've noticed, most people seem to have that one. But then, when you eventually get a Charizard or a Gengar, I'm looking at my collection here, even less popular ones like Pinsir. I got a Gyarados shiny that I was like, it's just such a dopamine hit when you open that pack and you get that card, that I do think that anyone that has nostalgia for Pokemon will at least enjoy that aspect of this. So
interesting. All right. Yeah. So if you're a Pokemon fan, new and old, definitely check this out. It's free as well.
It is, yeah.
Like you only, at most, you lose, I don't know, some time in your night. And it's also a mobile game, so play it on your train ride home from work or something.
Totally.
Or what I do is I battle while I do cardio at the gym, so it makes the time go faster.
Nice.
For me, if I were to recommend it, and I was thinking about this throughout the week, Jordan, like
stewing on it.
Like, do I want to recommend this to friends? Because I already kind of did to my friend group, but we're all gamers already. We all grew up with Pokemon. They already knew I was like in this card game phase, my card game era, if you will. But would I recommend it to like just the regular person walking by? I think you could at least give it a shot for one night. It's free. It's super accessible. It's like on Apple, on iOS and Android. The cost to get in, like I said, is nothing.
Yeah.
And then just see what it does for you. Like, do you, when you open a pack, does it spark joy?
Like
totally. Seeing the Pokemon, and then on top of that, like, do you have anybody to share this with? Like, take a screenshot. Do you have anybody to share your poll with? And then if that hits, like, yeah, keep playing, because this is very much like a vessel for community and a vessel for fun, and that small bit of dopamine hit that happens 2, maybe 3 times a day. Mechanics wise and long-term gameplay wise, I'm gonna hold my thoughts for that. I want to see where it ends up. Marvel Snap started off very strong, and then within like 2-3 months, people found out how to broke it. They had to introduce something new, and now it's in kind of a weird, like, I'm talking card acquisition. Now it's in a very weird and tricky part, because, like, yes, you can spend money, but they also said you don't have to spend money. In this game, it doesn't feel like you have to spend money yet, because they're very generous with the cards, but long term, we'll have to see. But if that's also long term, if you want some fun now, jump in, try it out, see how it hits. It's a good vessel for community.
And don't underestimate that premium, that free 2-week trial of the premium battle pass. It really is surprising to me that they aren't pushing that super hard. Like, I think you should open the game, and, you know, when you open it, you see your little profile at the top, and you see the 3 packs that you can choose from to open. I think on that main screen, they should really be pushing the fact that free 2-week trial of the premium battle pass. Because someone like me, who's pretty plugged in, didn't know about this, and I only heard someone mention it in passing, and that's when I was like, oh, and then I went in and found it, and then I told my other friends, and they hadn't noticed it either. But B, if they were pushing that, you're going to get a big portion of your audience is going to subscribe to that premium battle pass. And guess what? It's the Netflix model of, oops, forgot to cancel it at the end of the trial. And it just keeps on billing you every 2 weeks or every month or whatever it is. So I'm really surprised they aren't showing that off way more clearly than they seem to be. But if you do pick it up, then, you know, there's nothing stopping you from trying that. And just set a calendar reminder to cancel it in, 13 days, that kind of thing.
Will I remember in 7 days? We shall see. That is something interesting you bring up, because I played Animal Crossing Pocket Camp a lot a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And they also had a monthly pass, but they didn't push it that hard either. No. So I wonder if it's like a Nintendo thing that they want to offer it, but not really.
Does Nintendo own DNA?
I don't think so.
I don't think they do. I don't know how much Nintendo has to do with this game. When you launch into the game, it does say DNA, like you said, and it also says the Pokemon Company, obviously, because the Pokemon Company owns everything Pokemon. But I haven't seen any Nintendo on it, so I really don't know if they have any hand in this at all.
Getting into the nitty-gritty of Wikipedia, Nintendo is partial owner, like 12%, but they're also owned by like the Bank of Japan, and there's a couple of hands in there, but Nintendo's got a little bit of involvement. Sorry, go on. Yeah,
I'm sure Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have, and especially when it comes to the video game scene, a pretty symbiotic relationship. So it wouldn't surprise me if, there's some crossover there where they talk to their partners at Nintendo, and Nintendo's like, we don't want to, we're pretty closely associated with you guys. We don't want to push that too much. So,
yeah. But overall, do we want to give a score on this, Jordan, about what we think so far?
You can, if you'd like. You've played it far more than I have. I wouldn't say that I'm ready to, because I haven't done enough of the battling. I am level 9, which seems to be pretty good. But yeah, I think I need to spend more time with it and see if it holds my attention for longer.
Sounds good. If, like I said, I want to see where this game is at a year, 2 years from now. Yeah. See if it can hold my attention. Obviously, if this doesn't hold my attention, I am in no need of more Pokemon in my life. Like, I can go play a different game. I can, I don't know, play the other card game, play Pokemon Go again.
Absolutely.
So I'm not gonna cry if this game ends up not being the second coming of Pokemon Jesus. But I think if I were to give it a score now, I think I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it's got a very solid foundation. I will give it that. But one major point: how long will this hook last? Will it maintain its goodwill and its funness and events and all that? It's hooks as well. And the other is, I think, yeah, it's just there's not that much content in it. There's not that many cards to build new decks from. Like, I kind of hinted at this just a little earlier, but I feel like the meta has been figured out already. Of course, like as more people play and experiment and try new things, that might change. But right now, there's a very dominant or a couple of very dominant decks in the what when you play online and when you play tournaments. I think there was like a couple invitational tournaments over this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Like with lots of people and people won money, but the top 10 list was like Pikachus and Mewtwo's, maybe a Marowak in there. It was a lot of the same stuff. So I wonder if, or I hope they add more cards so that changes and it doesn't get stale after just a couple weeks. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, we hope you check out Pokemon TCG Pocket, and if you end up checking it out, definitely share the cool polls you got. Share it on our socials at Grow Up Level Up. We are at Grow Up Level Up everywhere, from Twitter to Blue Sky to Threads, Instagram, anywhere you can share a picture. We're probably there. And if we're not, let us know where. And tweet at us, post at us, send us your cool polls.
That's right.
I will share ours as well. But moving on to our next topic of the show, we are going to start a new series that Jordan will explain now. If he's
I was just going to say that it really caught me off guard there because I really wanted to say so when you said topic of the show, but
true. Maybe
all
we'll
right.
steal that.
Well, this new segment that we're debuting today is something that may become a recurring segment if it goes well. And there's also room for guests if we do have interest, or if we bring on another guest and they're willing to play a little bit of a game with us and maybe have a bit of a debate with us.
Ooh.
So what we're looking at here is it's good that we brought up Animal Crossing, because everyone's good friend Blathers, the owl who runs the museum, has invited us to help build out a museum of gaming with him.
Ooh.
Now, in this museum, it's very similar to Animal Crossing. There's many different wings, okay? So, you go to the right and you hit the fossils. You go to the left and you hit the bugs. That kind of thing. But what we have been tasked with from Blathers here is building out a specific wing for the grand opening of the museum. Now, there are two things we have to decide first. One is the category, two is the subcategory. I have already picked the category, and we will start by debating what the subcategory is going to be.
Okay. And for the audience, Jordan kind of gave me an idea of what this is, but this is my first time hearing this game and what the category is. So I'm going in fresh.
Now, for Samson, I have dropped a link to the Google Doc that I'm working off of.
I got it.
If you want to open that up, you can. If not, it's not a big deal. But our category to start things off today.
Hold on, can I drum roll?
Oh, of course. Our opening category is going to be the original 151 Pokemon. Now, of course, Pokemon blurs the lines between video game, cartoon, trading card game, etc., etc. But obviously, it's a good topic because of the TCGP that we spent the first 20 minutes of the show talking about. So what we're going to do here, we've got our category, original 151 Pokemon. Our subcategory, we have to decide what we want that to mean. So are we looking at, I'll give you some examples, the best of the original 151? Are we looking at the most powerful? Are we simply looking at our personal favorites? Because we may just want to do that. Now, we'll decide that subcategory, and then both of us have 4 slots. We each get to pick 4, and honorable mention just for fun. Then we have to decide between the two of us which of those 4 that we have both picked make it into be featured in the museum wing. So I've got, like I said, my little Google spreadsheet here with a bunch of picks. I've already selected mine, so I already know what I'm going to say about them. As you give me yours, I'll record yours, and then we will decide the winners that get to be featured. Of course.
So
there'll be a small plaque on the wall for all of our choices, but those 4 that we pick out of our total of 8 get, the big display, and there's probably something hiding in the town that someone has to dig up and then bring to Blathers and donate to him, and then he puts it up and everything. So go ahead.
So question. So out of our 8, we are choosing 4.
Yes.
And it might not necessarily be 2 from me or 2 from you. It might be 3 from you, 1 from me.
Yep. Whatever
Just
we land on. I'm hopeful we come to some decisions here. Hopefully neither of us are too stubborn about our picks. I think there will be some that we can pretty well agree on. However, there's one other caveat here, and it's that one of us gets to pick a veto, which means you throw out a Pokemon and we cannot put that in either of our top 4. And just because it's going to be the obvious one, the veto today is no Pikachu. Now, I'm willing to expand that to no Eevee as well, but if we don't want to do that, we don't have to. So,
well, but first we have to choose our subcategory, right?
We do have to choose our subcategory, but I think it's good to get the veto out of the way, because in many of the categories that may get chosen, Pikachu would probably come up. So,
All right. I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with no Pikachu, no Eevee.
Fair enough.
They have been kind of Pikachu for sure. Eevee has been hey, we like Eevee too this whole time, right?
Hey, we want another mascot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm okay with mixing those two, because
fair enough,
because it makes it spicier for sure.
Fair enough.
So no Pikachu, no Eevee. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we decide our subcategory?
So subcategory, I mean, for me personally, when it comes to something like Pokemon, because we have so many picks, I had originally kind of thought, it's probably easiest to go with your personal favorites, or, maybe not even personal favorites, but the Pokemon that mean the most to you for one reason or another. So I have written in this slot most meaningful. Now that would be a personal most meaningful. But if you want to change it up, if you have something else in mind, feel free to speak up, and we can go from there. Like I said, could do most powerful. Most powerful becomes a little less,
Yeah, you just kind of end up with the legendaries.
Exactly, right? So I feel like that's a little less fun, and you could probably just Google a list of those. So I do like the subcategory to be a little more, directed to us, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it. I'm just trying to think of like a more specific word, most meaningful. Maybe like a Pokemon that you have a good memory of, or
sure.
Or that when you think back on your childhood, you're like, oh yeah, I did think about this Pokemon a lot. But
call it Pokemon memories.
Ooh, Pokemon you have nostalgia for.
Perfect.
Cool.
Pokestalgia.
Awesome.
All right. I'm down with that. I am absolutely down with that. I think most of my picks will fit in there pretty nicely. So,
and you're gonna write these as we chat along, or
I will record these as we chat along. My picks are already slotted in there. I just made the text the same color as the highlighting in the square. So don't click into the cell.
Okay,
because then it'll show you.
I'll just leave it up so I can see. But I'm right now. I am scrolling up and down this 151 list.
I thought you might
trying to jog some memories. Yeah, thank you. But I think I have some ideas. But
I can go first if you want me to dive in.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah.
All right. So,
I guess one more question.
Yes.
What if we choose the same guy or Pokemon?
That's fine. I think then it's unanimous. That one's going into the wing, right?
You got it. Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
And the order doesn't really matter either, because it's just whatever you come. So
cool. Sounds good.
I'll jump in there with my first one. My first pick is Nidoking. Now, the reason behind my pick of Nidoking is because when I was a young boy, I had a sleepover with my best friend, who I've talked about on the show before, lives in Montreal now. We used to have sleepovers all the time, of course, stay up late, playing video games. I must have been around 10, maybe a little less, maybe a little older, something like that. And, we'd have sleepovers at my house, his house, alternating weekends, et cetera, et cetera. And we had one, it must have been in the summer, because we stayed up late playing games and everything. And I had never played a Pokemon game before. Now, my friend grew up a very blessed life, and he had every console on the face of the earth and any game he wanted. So he naturally had the original Game Boy. I must have been playing it on a Game Boy Advance at that point just because. But he had many copies of the Pokemon games. And of course he had, I don't even know which one it was. It might have been blue or something like that. But I suggested that I might want to try it. And he said, okay, you can try it out. But of course, you can't save because there was only one save slot, right? If I had saved my game, I would have overwritten his. So he hands me the game. I start a new game. And it must have been around 11, maybe midnight. And shortly after that, he falls asleep. And next thing I know, I hear my dad getting up to have a shower for work the next morning. And that's how long I had been playing Pokemon on his Game Boy. And of course, it was my first experience. You know, I don't even remember what my starter was. I'm sure I caught a dozen Zubats and Pidgeys and things like that. But what I do remember is my Nidoking that I eventually evolved to.
Wow.
Because he was kind of my one that I stuck with. And because of that, Nidoking has always been a favorite of mine. So that's why my number one slot goes to Nidoking. And I would love to see a nice display dedicated to Nidoking in our museum. So
can't argue with that. You never forget your first.
That's right.
They say.
That's what they say about Pokemon.
That's crazy that you got so far enough that you evolved something into a Nidoking from. I mean, from nothing,
maybe I didn't evolve it, and maybe I got it some other way. I honestly don't remember. Maybe I didn't even get to Nidoking, and that's all a figment of my imagination. Maybe I only had a Nidoran or something like that. But I was going for Nidoking at the very least. So for me, he's been built up in my mind as an all-timer.
Nice. I love that. What a great story.
Thank you.
Have a similar one, surprisingly.
Okay.
But maybe we'll get to that in one of my answers. Cool. Should I present my first one?
Absolutely.
So, picture how old would I have been? Like 7 or 8-year-old Samson.
Okay.
And grandma came back from vacation in the States and bought me and my brothers a Game Boy Color in the color like teal, like that bluish turquoise.
You say it, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, nice Game Boy Color. And back then, like we had our Pokemon Blue game that we also got. So me and my brothers, we were all playing that together. Can't name them our names, of course. It's a shared file, so we named it Ash, and eventually caught a Pikachu called Pikachu.
So creative,
very
original,
egalitarian. Yeah. But there was one Pokemon that we actually didn't have in the game. Maybe we did. But the Pokemon that always sticks out to me when I think about back then was Shelder. Shelder. The little purple. Is he purple? Yeah. Purple oyster looking guy. Clam
oyster,
guy, yeah.
Sure.
And the reason why is because along with our Game Boy and all our other knickknacks and toys from back then, parents bought us a sticker sheet. And on that sticker sheet was some Pokemon stickers, and one was Shelder. That Shelder sticker we took, put smack dab right in the middle of the Game Boy, right between the B and right arrow. So it was right smack in the middle. Every time we looked at our Game Boy, we saw Shelder. Cool. And that's why he's stuck in my head.
Awesome.
I do think we had a Cloyster at one point. But Shelder's the guy that kept looking back at us every time we played Pokemon.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a. I mean, certainly you say Shelder, and I'm like, well, guess who's not making it into the museum? But the story behind it, definitely, that was some really good Samson lore. I just want to check.
I have a lot.
Oh, Shelder is 2 L's. Okay. So I spelled it with 1, and I was looking at it like, there's got to be a second. There we go. Cool. That was good. I appreciate that. All right.
Thank you. What's your second pick?
Do you want to snake draft this and you do a second one, or should I jump to my second?
Sure. I'll I got my second one ready.
Okay, go ahead.
So, another bit of Samson lore. I've brought this up more times than I thought in our series of podcasts, but I really don't like caves in video games. Caves or tight spaces. If your game has a cave and I'm in it and it's dark, I don't want to be there. I would rather do something else. Some would say claustrophobia. I might say it's that as well. But if you trace it all back, it all goes back to Mount Moon on Pokemon Blue and Red and Yellow, I guess, where if you don't teach a Pokemon Flash, you can't see where you're going, and you really are just bumping around on walls, running into trainers, and running into a certain Pokemon called Zubat over and over again until you get out. So I have encountered a lot of Zubats in my time. This guy keeps coming back to me in all the Pokemon games as well. Like I think in Sun and Moon as well, he was there. I'm like, can they not come up with another bat? They did, but Zubat still is around for some reason. So Zubat, nostalgic for because he haunts my nightmares. Speaking about the cave lore, I remember like going to getting those old guidebooks. Yeah, and then counting the steps and squares and cells to navigate out of Mount Moon.
Tapping right.
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
In those little screenshots in the book, like figure out my way out so I don't have to teach a Pokemon Flash. Whereas, like looking back, I could have taught a Pokemon Flash and then dump that Pokemon right after. Yeah. But yeah, it was funny times for sure. Bumping into caves for hours and hours.
That's a really good poll. I mean that shows some classic Pokemon gaming knowledge right there. So I like that.
Kids have it easy with your no HMs nowadays.
No kidding. Actually, little known fact about Jordan lore. That is actually my story about Nidoking and playing the game from roughly midnight to 6 a.m. when my dad got up for work. That's the only time I've ever actually played a Pokemon, one of the traditional Pokemon games. I have never touched any of the other ones. And don't get me wrong, I loved it. I was super into it. Obviously, I was addicted because I played for 6 hours straight, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just never bothered to get into another one. So,
I mean, like, huge aside, they are kind of weird to get into as adults because all the little conveniences you have in modern games as adults, they're not there in Pokemon games. But then all the charm that Pokemon has, like building a team and building a personal connection and that slow grind, like other games don't really have that pull either. So it's interesting to play a Pokemon game as an adult. It's not impossible. It's just different compared to a lot of things. So.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of love for Pokemon and obviously Pokemon Go and I've actually watched a lot of the anime. Yeah, well now TCGP, but I've actually watched a lot of the anime. Especially when my daughter was very young, trying to get her into it. She didn't really care, but I was like, yeah, I could watch this. So, anyways,
this is Dad's old show. I don't want to watch this.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump back over to my next pick. Now, my next pick, it's kind of a twofer, kind of an obvious one as well. But again, if we're talking nostalgia, you got to talk about Mew and or Mewtwo, especially in reference to Pokemon the first movie. Now, of course, we're talking video games, not movies. But of course, you want to talk Mew, there's of course the old glitch or whatever it was to try and get Mew in the game, the original ones, right? So I feel like it's important to bring the two of them up together. I don't know if you feel a strong pull to either one. I personally, I like Mew more, but like Mewtwo is pretty badass.
He's cool.
And of course,
his coolness,
he really does. And of course, there's also the connection to the Super Smash Brothers series with Mewtwo, where I have a lot of fond memories of actually being at my cousin's house, who lived in, I can never remember because it was, I only visited him like once or twice, but I can't remember if he lived in Vancouver or Victoria. But they lived in BC, and I was a young child. And I remember being there visiting with my parents once. I have no idea where my sister was because she was usually with us, but she wasn't there in this case. My cousin wasn't there either. And my aunt said, well, your cousin has a GameCube. You can go play games in the other room. And I have this very fond memory of being in this very small room with two like really old, like 70s style couches on either side of the wall, and this little tube TV on the third wall, and bouncing around on those couches, playing Super Smash Brothers Melee on the GameCube, and thinking I was so good as Mewtwo. And I must have been, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that. And just thinking I was the coolest because I was so good as him, charging up his Dark Blast, and then, you know, you hold it and you can dodge around while holding it, and then you let it rip and everything. So, I mean, if it were up to me, I would say Mewtwo goes here. I'm not sure if you have any strong pull, or if maybe they were on your list as well.
Well, you could have 2 for 1. All right, you know what?
No, I'm not saying I get a 2 for 1. I'm leaning towards Mewtwo. I just kind of wanted to talk it out. So,
Which, you know what? I'm gonna let you keep your 2 for 1. I'm gonna let you keep your 2 for 1. Just based on my upcoming answer.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So my third pick overall. Growing up, for those who only listen on audio, come to YouTube. You'll find out that I'm Chinese.
Whoa! Samson lore.
Yeah. The stuff you only get in the YouTube version.
That's all right.
So growing up, like, not to be generic, but my parents signed us up for martial arts lessons and kung fu lessons.
Naturally.
So we had that affinity growing up, as well as, like, my dad liked watching Bruce Lee movies, and it's something that my parents are proud of, like watching Jackie Chan movies. So I grew up around a lot of martial arts, and turns out in the original 151, there's 2 martial arts
I see where you're going.
themed Pokemon, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. So obviously Hitmonlee kind of has a play on name to Bruce Lee. Hitmonchan close to Jackie Chan, like loosely based, right? Like, I think Hitmonchan's more boxing, Hitmonlee's about kicking. You know, you can find similar themes there, but those 2 Pokemon I always associated with kung fu and Northern Shaolin, the specific thing we practiced, form we practiced. And we did that, like, throughout my childhood, 2 times a week, all around the school year, pretty much until I was in high school. So these 2 Pokemon, I think a lot about, because they reminded me of those times I'd go practice martial arts with our Long Sifu, and all the friends I meet there. So nice. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan.
That's a great pull. That's a really good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. You got some good history with these ones, with these picks of yours.
The OG 155. I mean, you got some too. I do recommend. Remember those long nights where you stay up and it's like, oh well, everyone's going to work now. I guess I got school in 30 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah. So do I do 2 in a row now?
Well, I didn't do 2 in a row. I should have done 2 in a row, but I didn't. So we'll jump back to me just to even it out again.
Fast.
The thing is, my next 2 picks, definitely less. In fact, probably no real video game tie that I can make with them. So it's a little bit harder for me to argue for these 2. But I'll unveil the one I have in my 4th slot here, even though, again, the placement doesn't really matter. And it's Butterfree. Okay. Now, obviously, I mean, you might be thinking, why Butterfree? And like I said, pretty much no video game connection. But as a child, I would suggest that many people of my generation remember very clearly the first time they cried while watching a TV show. And for many of us, it was when Ash sets Butterfree free at last. I know. I'm choking up just thinking about it, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I have Butterfree on this list as one of, I mean, you want to talk Pokestalgia. I would think that, like I said earlier, you know, if you talk to anyone, almost anyone our age kind of thing, or in that range, you could say name a Pokemon and they're probably going to say Pikachu, right? Maybe you might get an Eevee. You might get like a Charmander or a Charizard because they're very popular. But I think if you said to most people in our generation, Butterfree, and you ask them what memory of Butterfree they have, I think a lot of people are going to have a light bulb moment where they flash back to that episode and how emotional it was and how much it touched you and stuck with you. I remember watching that and being like, what is this feeling I'm experiencing? And being like, I cannot tell a soul that I'm getting choked up at a cartoon. And not even thinking about it in those terms, not thinking about it in the terms of, oh, this is a cartoon, or oh, this is a child's show, but just thinking, why am I feeling these emotions right now? You know, that kind of thing, right? So anyways,
100%, 100%.
I'm putting Butterfree in my next slot.
No, oh man, that's a good one for me too, because yeah, I remember, like, the episode is in my mind so clearly. I remember the part at the end when Ash releases the
cliff and the sunset
and the pink Butterfree and the scarf. Like, why is it so memorable?
The scarf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got chills when you said the scarf. Oh,
yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, the Butterfree episode definitely.
I think it was called Bye Bye
it.
Butterfree, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
Which, like, as an adult, you see that title and you're like, oh, something's happening to Butterfree in this episode. But as a child, I mean, you didn't know what the episode was called, right? So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was a good one. That is a good one. That Butterfree is a pretty good pick. Good poll.
Thank you.
I actually kind of forgot about that until
like
you mentioned.
Said, you know, that's the litmus test for me. You go to someone our generation and you say, what do you feel deep down when you hear Butterfree? And they're going to tell you about that episode.
They start crying.
Exactly.
They start tearing up.
Exactly.
Why? I don't know why.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, I completely forgot that was an episode until you started talking. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Back to you.
My last one. And this one, I'm surprised, actually, more of this category hasn't showed up on the list yet.
Okay.
But my last one has to be the third stage himself, water starter Blastoise.
Nice.
So everybody loves Charizard. It's a cool dragon. Though he's technically not a dragon. He's a fire flying for a long time, and that was funny.
True.
But I think for me personally, like, Blastoise is definitely I wouldn't say underrated, because he still gets a lot of love, but he's up there because he's part of the original three. I think I remember him more because we had Pokemon Blue for so long, and he's the character on the cartridge. And then I think just playing it, it's like, oh well, he's the guy on the cartridge. We have to pick the water guy, so we ended up picking Blastoise every time. And then I think there was also a boy in our neighborhood. He was a little older than me, and he was the first one to show me what Pokemon was on his Game Boy when I visited his house.
And his name was Blast.
Blast and Toys. No, actually, his name is Tim. I'll shut him out. Tim actually is deaf, so he communicates through ASL.
I think you might have talked about him on the show before.
Maybe, yeah. He still plays Pokemon Go a lot, so so we hang out often. But
nice.
But yeah, like growing up, I didn't know sign language back then. So yeah, we communicated a lot through playing Pokemon, or he would show me how to play Pokemon. And I remember he had a Blastoise as well. That was like level 90 something. Like he was grinding that bad boy to level 100. So Blastoise, just because it was one of the first guys I ever looked into. Yeah,
that's a really good one. And potential hot or cold take, if you will. Blastoise is better than Charizard. Yeah, you heard it here first, people. I went through the original list and just wrote down any Pokemon that stood out to me as a favorite before I made my picks. And Blastoise is the first one I put on the list. Obviously, he's up in the top. You know, he's number, 3? No, 3 is Venusaur. Anyways, he's in the first 10 Pokemon in the numerical list. So, of course, I came across him early. But yeah, I've always been a Blastoise guy over a Charizard guy.
Team Blastoise.
That's right. And I think, I mean, if I'm being real, it's because I like blue better than red or orange. So that's the reason for me. But yeah,
I'll throw out another hot take.
Blastoise.
Charizard looks kind of funny with his big belly as a dragon. So
good one. Kind of like a, I mean, doesn't have to be a dad, but I was going to say a drunk dad. But anyways.
Charizard's got a beer belly.
Yeah, exactly. Got a big old beer belly, big old pot belly. So anyways, good pick. I like that.
Thank you.
Jumping over to my last pick, and then we can do honorable mentions. We don't need to talk about them too much unless you have a great story that you want to talk about with an honorable mention. But my honorable mention is going to go to everyone's favorite of the original ghost types. Although I don't know if they were ghost type back then. They might have just been poison. I don't know. You'd know better than me.
I think it's ghost.
It's going to be
your honorable mention or your number 3?
No, my number 3.
Number 4.
My number 4. Yes, good point. Yeah. My number 4 in the 3 slot on the spreadsheet. But anyways, is Gengar, because Gengar might just be my favorite Pokemon of the original 150, 151 if you want. He's definitely up there, and I have long since wanted to get a Gengar tattoo. I don't know what I would do exactly. And I understand that maybe Haunter has the cooler design overall, but something about Gengar with that big old devious smile, just he's got it going on, So that's Gengar, or that's my third pick, is Gengar for you. No real nostalgic tie to him or anything. I always thought it was weird in the show how they really focused on Haunter in that one episode. Then of course Ash catches him, and that's I think why they focused on Haunter. But Gengar was always the cool older brother. So
true, yeah. That whole line, Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar,
it's a good one.
Their designs are so distinct, but there's a theme, and I like Gengar too. He's like I always saw him as he's spooky and cool, but he's also big and round, so he's kind of like cuddly. So I always found that funny about him.
He's similar to Charizard. We got Charizard with the big belly. We got Gengar with the roundness.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like Gengar. I would like to throw in for my honorable mention.
Yes. Honorable mention.
Oh, man. I'm going to throw in Execute.
Execute.
The 6 eggs, literally, because they are eggs, and I cannot believe they made them a Pokemon.
Fair enough.
I have an affinity towards Pokemon that are just like a couple things put together, like Diglett and Dugtrio as well. They're a good one. And Tandemouse of more recent, just like two and 4 mice. So Execute, kind of hilarious, just a bunch of eggs. I think when Pokemon Go came out, I had like
they were everywhere for some reason.
Yeah, it was like the original 151, and then I had a coworker at the time that like didn't know anything about Pokemon. The first Pokemon they caught, other than like the starter or whatever, was like, "Hey, I caught some eggs." Like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's weird. They would be a bunch of eggs to you.
And then they evolve into a tree with some coconuts. So
yeah. How did that?
Oddly enough.
Maybe they're coconuts. No, there's an egg.
No, they're definitely
one of them's
eggs.
cracked.
One of them's cracked and has like yolk and stuff. You mentioned
funny.
Diglett, and I got this pull as you were talking.
That's a good
at
one.
the start of the show.
As I was talking.
Yeah. Isn't that
That's
cool?
a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Anyways, audio listeners, come watch the video, because I just held up my Pokemon trading card game pocket. So, okay. I dig it, or I egg it, if you will. Yeah, that was bad. My honorable mention is going to go to Lapras, because, I mean, oddly, the timing, there's something to be said about the timing right now, because, of course, if you're playing trading card game pocket, there's a Lapras event on right now. But that's not why I picked Lapras. I picked Lapras because I think Lapras is probably one of the most underrated of the original 150. Often overlooked. One of the cooler designs. It's got that cute, but also sassy, but also like totally unique kind of look to it. And I also had a little toy of Lapras that was like, one of these little, like probably this big, couple inches big kind of thing. And I always loved that toy. Now I just gave myself a big old flashback to an Eevee toy that I also had, but that's more rooted in trauma, so I won't go into that on the show.
Is that why we vetoed Eevee?
That's why we vetoed Eevee.
I don't even want it to come out. Samson, don't even mention it.
I put Eevee on the chopping block for that reason. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, so my honorable mention is just going to be Lapras. I just think one of the coolest designs of the original. So
yeah, that's true. They were able to use that as a ride in I think the second season of the anime, or the golden silver era or something. Yeah, super cool design.
Yeah.
How would you even classify that as, like, it's a dinosaur? Or is it like a whale?
I think that's kind of a part of what drew me to it. It's a real mashup of a bunch of them. Like, it's overall kind of dinosaur-y, but it's got the shell of a turtle, but it's got the fins of kind of like a whale.
Yeah.
But also maybe that's kind of the dinosaur. So anyways, yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. Good pick.
Thanks. Now, of course, that is our full list. I'll recap it here for us so the audio listeners can, and the video listeners can get a quick recap here. Of course, we're building our museum wing, and the first wing is the original 151 Pokemon. The subcategory is Pokestalgia, so Pokemon that just give us all the nostalgic feels. And I have chosen Nidoking, Mewtwo/Mew, calling it one pick. Gengar, Butterfree, with an honorable mention to Lapras. Samson has chosen Shelder, Zubat, Hitmonlee/Hitmonchan, because, of course, I got a double pick, so he does too. Blastoise, and an honorable mention of Execute. Our vetoes were no Pikachu, no Eevee. Now, I would like to mention one thing.
Oh?
This is our museum that Blathers has commissioned us to build. I am open to just allowing all 8 to have full-on displays. And when I say 8, I should really be saying 10, because we have 2 displays that are going to feature 2 Pokemon. But I mean, hey, you got kind of a cool, you could do like, I mean, it seems obvious, but like a dojo style display for Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. And then you do like some, I don't know, space battle kind of thing with Mew and Mewtwo. Or, you know, Mewtwo's laboratory from the end of the first movie kind of thing. Something like that. So anyways, I'm open to featuring all going. 8 if you want.
I think, that's tricky for sure. It's tricky for sure.
I mean,
I think we should try to narrow it down to 4.
Okay. If you want to, I mean, part of the reason I brought it up is in the interest of time. But if you're willing, then we can narrow it down. We can whittle it down.
Why don't we, for the interest of time, because we are coming up on the hour. If you're still listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't we just pick our 2 favorites from our list and then just call it there for today?
Okay,
so
sure.
Let me see. Out of my 4, do you have 2 that you're ready to?
I mean,
I'm falling apart.
Ready
to present.
In an effort to stick to the video game side of things more than just my own personal preferences, I gotta go with Nidoking because of my the only Pokemon video game I've actually played, my tie to that. And then I gotta go with my Mewtwo because Mewtwo has, you know, consistently been a boss in the Super Smash Brothers games. Lucario, obviously a later gen, but basically a duplicate of Mewtwo, just with a slightly altered moveset. But it all stems from Mewtwo, one of the first crossover events of video gaming history, I'll say. So I'm going to Nidoking and then Mew and Mewtwo.
Awesome. I'm going to do something unprecedented, even though this entire segment is unprecedented. I'm going to actually use one of my picks on your Gengar, if that's okay with you.
Oh, sure, if you want to, yeah. Oh, I didn't even consider looking at your picks. I loved them all, but I didn't. Oh, shoot. Anyways,
we can throw them all in the honorable mention. But yeah, like Gengar, I definitely remember having one in the original game.
Oh, okay.
I do think I really like his design. He's like cuddly but spooky and cool. so I do definitely vibe with that.
Nice.
And then I think just he's got a fun name. Like his entire evolution line is really cool.
Yeah.
Great anime episode as well. And great Gigantamax form. I just think he's been around for a long time in different forms, and I liked pretty much every part of it.
Cool.
And yeah, like I said, I had him in the original games as well.
I just looked up Gigantamax Gengar, and this is awesome. I have never seen this before, and I love this. That's so cool.
Gigantamax Gengar. Here, I'll try to pull up a photo just for our video watchers.
Go to Google Images and search it. There's a really cool figure or display that you might come across that's like a Gigantamax Gengar, but he's got like a Ghastly and a Haunter kind of surrounding him and stuff. Hope you can find it.
Figure. I'm not sure. Lots of Pokemon Go stuff. But
on the right-hand side there. Wait.
Oh, like this figure.
Something like that. It's similar to that one.
Anyways. That's cool. Yeah, Gigantamax Gengar is like coming out of the ground. He's got a giant mouth, like a portal, and his tongue's still sticking out. While we're on this topic, hold on. This you'll appreciate this. There was a Gigantamax Gengar like pillow headrest.
Oh my god!
If you're watching, you can stick your head in it and take a little rest. It's a pillow.
I love it.
I remember when this came out. It was so funny.
So funny.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Gigantamax Gengar, technically not in the 151, but Gengar gets it there.
Cool. I dig it. That's awesome. Okay. So we're going Gengar. And what's your final pick then? You got to bring one of yours in. I apologize for forgetting that I could cross over because
it's all good.
I really I would argue you had a better list in terms of connecting it back to video games. So
That's okay. I just spent more time in the video games. Let's see. My final pick, I'm going to have to pick, speaking of nightmares,
Yeah,
Zubat.
I knew it.
I'm going to pick Zubat.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oops.
it is like a big meme for everybody
Absolutely.
in the community that like, oh, Zubats are so annoying, but I'm pretty sure this guy was part of the reason I don't like caves in video games. So I'm gonna put Zubat in there just so I can be reminded that I don't like caves in video games.
That's amazing.
That works.
Awesome.
Cool. There's our Hall of Fame.
All right.
Our museum wing.
First wing of the museum is Nidoking, Mew and Mewtwo, Gengar, and Zubat being featured. Of course, small plaque dedicated to all the Pokemon we discussed. Smaller plaque dedicated to the honorable mentions. But overall, this is our first wing of the museum being constructed November 6th, 2024.
Very nice. Thanks for putting that together, Jordan. That was really fun.
You're welcome. I can't wait to do more.
Yeah. This museum, it can't be a museum with just one wing. What is that?
No.
Art gallery?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a museum if it's got one wing. So it's very much under construction.
So if you ever want to revisit these, I'll try to make a section on our website that kind of logs and catalogs all our different wings and museums. So you can go back and take a stroll in the museum if you want. That website is called growuplevelup.com. It also has links to all the ways you can get our podcasts and all different kinds of podcasts that we like to do. What do you think of our list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I feel like a lot of people will have their own opinions, but whatever it is, feel free to write into us on all social medias. You can comment if you're watching on YouTube. You can also comment if you're watching on Spotify. Reach out to us on social media at growuplevelup for whatever your opinion is on your 5 with the honorable mention Poke Nostalgia picks in our Hall of Fame museum. And hey, maybe if you make a good enough case, maybe, we'll find an extra shelf to put your Pokemon in. So definitely let us know. Also, if you are still listening this far, thank you so much for checking out our episode again. Check out some of our other episodes, such as last week where we interviewed Jerica from JK Games. We connected with her and had a very nice chat about what her journey into full-time content creation is like. If you want some tips about going into full-time content creation, whether it's podcasts or YouTube or whatever, definitely check that episode out. It is also our Halloween episode, so we are in some funny costumes. If you want more episodes, find us on YouTube and podcasts wherever you get them. My name has been Samson, aka Samson XP on all the socials. Jordan, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
You can find me on all socials at Sir Dr. JM. That's Sir DRJM. Hit me up on Blue Sky. I don't have any following over there. I worked very hard to get the little following I had over on Twitter, and I think I might be done with it. I hesitate to say that because I do spend a decent amount of time just scrolling on Twitter, but I might be leaving that platform. So anyways, hit me up on Blue Sky, and let's see if I can actually be active over there.
Yeah, actually find me on Blue Sky as well. That's the one place I'm not Samson XP. On Blue Sky, I am simply SMSN, like the letters. My name without the vowels. I managed to snag that. Finally got into a social platform early, and it's finally paying out.
Nice.
So find us on Blue Sky. Grow Up Level Up on Blue Sky, of course. SMSN for myself. Are you Sir Dr. JM on Blue Sky, Jordan?
I am Sir Dr. JM. That's Sir DRJM on all socials.
Perfect. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, where we talk to you about the games we fit into our 5 to 9 after our 9 to 5 and let you know if it's worth it or not. Reviews, impressions. Next week, not sure what we have planned. I think it's a review of Mexico 1921, which I will finish this week. I'm making the commitment. A review of Mexico 1921, a mystery narrative game from some indie developers down in Mexico. So stay tuned for that. Stay subscribed, follow along, and we'll see you next week. Jordan, what's your famous last words for the night?
Famous last words for the night are take care of one another.
Love it.